Hey folks, welcome back to our Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Legacy's Allure. Legacy's Allure is brought to you by Plutonium Shore Games. It's for 2 players, ages 12 and up, and games generally run 30 to 60 minutes. I cannot promise you that we will survive today. Still, we must fight. The factions of this world have warred for millennia, but only in the most fantastic stories have we imagined an enemy like the one we face now. We will all find purpose on the battlefield today. The proof of loyalty to our homeland, the vindication of a lifetime of training, a chance to feel the rush of battle and have our names written in the annals of history. Legacy's Allure is a customizable, card-based wargame with no randomness. Imagine chess, but with customization, deeper mechanics, and a high fantasy theme. Legacy's Allure has been called a streamlined wargame due to its elegance and accessibility. So join me as we seek glory on the battlefield. So, the game takes place over 7 rounds, and you have an attacking player and a defending player. The attacking player is trying to occupy the center space by the end of the 7th round, and the defending player is trying to stop them. Now, what you see set up here is your most basic setup. It is called the Blitz mode, which uses 50 gold or 80 gold. Here we're using the 50 gold setup, and there's also a draft mode where you get to create the cards and basically build your own kingdom with whatever equipment you want to give your heroes. But you have a lot of gold to work with in the draft because you do have that 160 gold to work with. Now, let's take a closer look at the anatomy of a card. So, for your unit cards that are out on the battlefield, you'll see a number of things, and they're very different based on the type of card you're using. And there's even keywords to be mindful of, like flying, or charging, or steadfast. Things like that that you'll need to reference. But what's really nice about all these things and all the reference points on the unit cards is that on the back they give you more information about what potentially this card can do for you. So that aids quite a bit in the course of play. Now, the card here, you have of course across the top the name of the unit, you've got the gold, and the higher the gold is kind of an indication of how powerful the unit is. So you have some nice artwork for the character portrait, and then you have ability. If it has any special abilities, you'll see that here at the bottom base of the card. And then at the very bottom, you have your power, which is kind of the damage you're doing in a melee combat, or even in ranged combat. You'll see that your distance for ranged is here as well, if they have ranged ability. And then you have movement, which is really in any direction. It's not just orthogonal, you can move diagonal and so forth through the course of the battlefield. And then on the far right is your health. Now, some of the cards have special things on them, like mana. That's your max mana to start. You'll see that some of the cards have dice on them indicating what the current mana status is, and that's blue for mana. You'll see white is for shields, and you have some other references here as well, like red will be damage. You might have effects like burning, which you would use a yellow die, and there might even be some poison effects as well. So things like that to be mindful of as you play and use the different dice to your advantage. Now you'll see there's a dice in the middle of the board. So the first unit that gets there is going to get 1 extra point. Not really an extra point of health, but just an extra shield point to protect you from maybe that first hit. Each kingdom has their own unique hero, and these heroes don't really have any special abilities on their card. Instead, they're going to have equipment. Now, some of these heroes might be more magic based, some might be more melee based, like Tristan here, but then there might even be a keyword like flying or something. But in general, you're just going to have the basic stats at the bottom that show your movement and so forth. But you're going to get all kinds of equipment cards. And in this basic setup, we have Tristan here, who has the Sunblade, which is so cool. You've got the Shield Bash, you've got Divine Favor, and you've got Arrest. So those are the 4 cards they suggest you start with in your first game. Looking across the battlefield, you'll see that we have our Orc High Wizard. Now, I really enjoyed this faction. All the factions are pretty unique and got some really fun cards and units to work with, but this one was probably my favorite. The Wizard here obviously has lower health than Tristan does. You know, melee versus wizards and so forth, as you'd expect, very thematic, and very powerful spells like Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt. So they are very different types of play as you'll discover moving through the game and trying out the different factions and so forth. But I really like the optional deck where if you do play the draft, all the different supporting cards, spells, and units that you can employ. And as you'd expect in a game of this type, there's all kinds of buffs and debuffs to be aware of. Now, the unit cards are going to be very clear about what they do, and that's one of the things I really enjoyed about this game, is that it didn't require a heavy rule set, and the getting starting guide was fantastic to get you into the game. For your first game, you're literally playing right out of the gate. So the information that you really need about what the units and the equipment are doing are all on the card, and again, the clarifications are going to be on the back side. Now, again, there might be some keywords to get used to, but in general, you have all the information right in front of you. Now, there's 3 basic types of damage. You have your physical damage, which is melee, and its only way to defend against that really is shields. And then you have magical damage, which if you have to have magical resistance to defend against. And again, those are all like abilities on the cards of the magic users and so forth. But there might be imbue as well. That could be a keyword to be mindful of for magic. And then you also have pure damage, which, like it sounds, you're not going to really be defending against that. Gameplay here is incredibly straightforward. You're doing one of 3 actions. You're moving, attacking, or you're using the special ability of your unit card. The thing though is that some keywords allow you to do multiple actions. Like with the knight, it has charging. You can move and attack. And once you do any action, you're only doing one, like I said, but you'll exhaust the card. You'll turn it sideways to the right. So for movement, you'll check your card's movement ability, moving up to those many spaces. Now, the thing here is that you can't move through other units unless you have specific keywords like pathing or flying, things like that. But in general, that's all you're doing. You're moving and then exhausting your card. For combat, you're either doing a ranged attack or a melee attack. You'll be doing a fair amount of melee actually. The ranged attacks, if you do damage and haven't eliminated the unit, you'll put a red marker, a red dice on the card showing how much damage it took. And same will be true for melee. So in this case, the grunt in its first turn moved to the middle, got the dice. You'll see the knight who is going to use his ability to charge and attack. So as long as you have movement to do so, you can do this. So he'll move and attack the unit, try and move into the space. Now, they're both gonna do 3 points of damage. So first thing that happens is the knight does do 3, except the grunt has a 1 shield, so it's only going to get 2 points of damage. However, the grunt gets to retaliate and do 3 points to the knight. Now, both have significant health, 4 and 5, so they're not knocked out, giving ample chance for you to use ability to heal perhaps your different units that are out of the battlefield. This is going to come into play quite a bit, trying to keep them alive so they can come back and fight another day. Again, once he's done, he's going to rotate and show that he's been exhausted. Or on your turn, you've decided to use the ability of one of your cards. Now don't forget that your heroes have all their cards off to the side and you want to tap into those. One of the keywords you're looking for here is combinable, because that allows you to use the ability and move, which is really nice for setting up for future turns and so forth. But in this case, we're going to use our priest because he has bless, and he has a ranged ability with bless, so we can reach out to the knight, healing him for 2, which is really handy right now because he was pretty low in health at the moment. So he'll use his ability and tick down the dice to 3 for his mana and exhaust the card, showing he's already played. Now, what's interesting here is that you can also choose to skip, which is not an action in any way. You're just exhausting a card. So the round ends when all the cards have been exhausted, and the last player to actually take an action, not skip, will be the second player in the next round. So there is strategic value to skipping a unit and not doing anything on your turns. It might set you up for being the first player in that next round for sure. So you continue this way back and forth until the attacking player is occupying that center space in the 7th round, or you as the defending player has stopped them from doing so. Alright folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now that said, this was just a broad overview. If you want a detailed how to play, they've got some great videos for that. Go check them out for sure. Now, the thing here is that if you like chess, it has that vibe to it for sure, but in that fantasy world with all kinds of special abilities, and the fact that you have heroes with card attachments adds a lot of flavor to the game. And a lot of those keywords like flying and such are very thematic to what you're doing with the different units out on the battlefield. And I really like the fact that you have this real sense of engagement when you battle back and forth. It's not just one piece takes another. You are actually battling cards for power, so to say, as you try to whittle down their health. But folks, ultimately, if this is like something that might be of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it for me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.